There is a kind of power that speaks without sound, a power that unsettles fragile egos and exposes what is hollow in others. You don't break a narcissist by attacking them. You break them by refusing to feed what keeps them alive. Attention, reaction, and emotional supply. Silence becomes the sharpest blade. 1. Your silence is their punishment. A narcissist survives the way a fire does, by consuming oxygen. Your reaction, your anger, your explanations, all oxygen. Take that away, and they choke. Not instantly, but slowly, painfully, in a way that forces them to confront their own emptiness. Most people fight the narcissist head-on, not realizing that confrontation is exactly what the narcissist needs. Attention validates them. Conflict energizes them. Chaos makes them feel powerful. But the Stoic moves differently. The Stoic knows that dominance is not proven through volume, but through control over oneself. Epictetus warned, any person capable of angering you becomes your master. And that is the beginning of the trap. The narcissist wants to own your emotions. They want to see you flinch. They want to know they can pull a string and make your soul twitch. So the Stoic gives them nothing, no rise, no reaction, no emotional temperature change. You become still water, impossible to disturb. Your silence becomes a mirror, reflecting everything they hate about themselves. Suddenly, they see what they truly are, insecure, empty, dependent. You didn't insult them. You didn't expose them. You didn't fight them. You simply refused to feed the creature. And that refusal is what destroys them. For the one thing a narcissist cannot handle is not being able to control you. 2 SELF control is a weapon they can't counter. The narcissist expects one thing above all: emotional predictability. They expect you to defend yourself when blamed. They expect you to explain yourself when questioned. They expect you to collapse when they withdraw affection. It's a game they've played with countless others, and every time the reaction is the same. But when you stay calm, when you stay unmoved, when you stay frighteningly composed, the rules of their game break. Narcissists don't know how to fight someone who isn't fighting back. They don't know how to manipulate someone who doesn't rise to the bait. Your stillness forces them into unfamiliar territory. They start overreaching, intensifying, exposing themselves. Seneca wrote, "He who has power over himself has power over all," and that is the weapon a narcissist cannot counter: self-command. When you respond slowly, thoughtfully, without urgency, their ego shakes. When you take your time, when you pause before answering, when you maintain your tone cold, steady, neutral, they feel it like a blade pressing against their pride. Because they suddenly realize they can't move you. They can't predict you. They can't own you. You are no longer a participant in their drama. You've become an observer. And that is what terrifies them. Narcissists are addicted to emotional chaos, but you've become the one thing their addiction cannot influence: a controlled mind, a grounded presence, an unmoved soul. You don't win by overpowering them. You win by being untouchable. 3. The power of the unreadable face. There is a special kind of silence that unsettles the narcissist more than any argument, accusation, or emotional storm. The silence of a face they cannot read. Narcissists survive on predictability. They feed on reactions. They rely on the subtle cues in your expression: the raised brow, the tightening jaw, the wounded eyes, to confirm their power. When you take that away, you take away the mirror that keeps their ego alive. A narcissist is not terrified of being ignored. They are terrified of being uninterpretable. So you master stillness. You master neutrality. You move like a calm predator through their chaos. You do not flinch at their provocation. You do not blink when they attempt to confuse you. You do not reveal joy, disappointment, anger, or validation. Your face becomes a blank page that their ego cannot write on. This is the art of psychological disappearance, remaining present while giving them nothing. and nothing is the one thing their ego cannot consume. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. So you choose thoughts that are clean, centered, anchored. You choose stillness even when they want noise. You choose presence even when they want weakness. And slowly, they begin to sense something is missing, the emotional fuel, the intensity, the reflection of their superiority. They don't know what you're thinking. They can't map your emotions. They can't predict the next move. This confuses them. Confusion becomes frustration. Frustration becomes insecurity. Insecurity becomes ego collapse. Because a narcissist without emotional leverage is nothing but an empty shell. And the stillness of your face becomes the mirror that reflects that emptiness back to them. Withdraw into yourself. It is the only safe harbor, Epictetus said. And when you do, you dismantle their power. Your unreadable face is not coldness. It is composure sharpened into a weapon. It is emotional discipline elevated into dominance. It is self-control forged into psychological precision. You stop dancing to their rhythm. You stop supplying their narrative. You stop giving them the script they depend on. And in that stark, calm silence, you watch their ego tremble. Because nothing destroys a narcissist faster than realizing they no longer have access to your reactions. They cannot control what they cannot interpret. They cannot influence what they cannot predict. They cannot dominate what they cannot decode. Your stillness becomes the storm they cannot survive. 4. Supremacy through indifference. A narcissist's deepest wound is not rejection. It is irrelevance. They can survive anger because anger is still attention. They can survive argument because argument is still engagement. They can survive tears because tears confirm their impact. But indifference is the quiet extinction of their power. Indifference is where you stop feeding the illusion that they matter more than they do, where you stop orbiting their moods, their demands, their self-centered gravity, where you walk with a calm, effortless confidence that does not bend to their presence. This is not apathy. It is sovereignty. It is the realization that your energy is currency, and you refuse to bankrupt yourself, paying tribute to a fragile ego. Narcissists need to believe they occupy your mind. So you reclaim it. You detach your emotional world from their behavior. You stop explaining yourself. You stop defending yourself. You stop reacting to every shift in their tone like you owe them your peace. As Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." And freedom is exactly what stars the narcissist, because a free mind cannot be manipulated. A free heart cannot be guilted. A free spirit cannot be controlled. Indifference is the apex weapon because it is invisible. You do not announce it. You do not perform it. You simply direct your energy elsewhere. You invest in your craft, your discipline, your inner world. You build a life that does not require their validation to feel whole. And suddenly, they feel it, the shift, the slipping, the loss of influence. They sense that your attention is no longer theirs. Your emotional reactions no longer feed them. Your mind no longer bends around their ego. To a narcissist, indifference feels like death. They rage at it. They push harder. They try to provoke you back into orbit. But you remain calm, steady, unmoved. You do not chase. You do not explain. You do not engage. You let their chaos exhaust itself in the empty space where your energy used to be. And in that emptiness, their ego collapses under its own weight. Because a narcissist's power is borrowed, and you just repossessed it. 5. Mastery through boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They are not punishments. They are declarations of sovereignty. A narcissist will always push, pushing for attention, pushing for compliance, pushing for dominance. They measure influence by the elasticity of your limits, testing how far they can bend your will before you break. Most people fail here. Most people flinch, apologize, accommodate, and in doing so, quietly hand over pieces of themselves. But the Stoic knows that self-possession is the ultimate armor. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." To set a boundary is to declare that your peace is not negotiable. It is to state silently but unambiguously, "Your ego does not own me." Boundaries are both shield and sword. They protect your energy from invasion, while also dismantling the narcissist's sense of entitlement. They function silently, yet their effect is devastating. When you refuse to answer at all hours, when you refuse to justify every choice, when you refuse to bend to every emotional manipulation, you reclaim territory the narcissist thought was theirs, and they feel it immediately. The panic, the subtle unease, the quiet realization that you cannot be used the way they've used others before. This mastery is born of calm observation. You watch their tactics, anticipate their moves, and respond with precision. You do not react in anger, because anger feeds the machine. You do not cower in guilt, because guilt is the nutrient of their manipulation. You stand in your own discipline, immovable, yet fluid, steady, yet adaptable. Like the river that erodes mountains not by force, but by persistence, your boundaries slowly reshape the landscape of your interactions. And make no mistake, a narcissist will test, they will probe, they will push harder than anyone else has pushed you. But the more consistent you are, the more precise your limits, the more your own calm becomes the measure of power. Epictetus said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." Narcissists believe they already understand that the world should revolve around their whims. But your boundaries teach them humility without a single word, without confrontation, without spectacle. Mastery through boundaries is the quietest, yet most ruthless dismantling of ego. It is not cruel. It is not revenge. It is disciplined detachment. It is control over your own mind and body while leaving theirs to wrestle with impotence. And in that quiet, consistent control, the narcissist realizes that the stage they thought they owned is empty. The spotlight is gone. The audience no longer reacts, and the play they rehearsed so carefully cannot proceed. Your boundaries become the blueprint for freedom, and theirs, the blueprint for collapse. Seek silence as a weapon. Words are the currency of connection, but to a narcissist, words are also weapons, tools to wound, manipulate, confuse, and dominate. They speak to create illusions, to enforce their narrative, to bend reality so it conforms to their ego. And most people respond. Most people argue, explain, justify, and thereby surrender a fragment of themselves each time they open their mouth. But the Stoic understands a truth that many cannot. Silence is not weakness. Silence is sovereignty. Silence is the quiet assertion that your inner world is untouchable, that no external voice can dictate your state of mind. To remain silent is to strip the narcissist of their audience. They thrive on reaction. They cannot bear emptiness where attention should be. They gauge power by the vibrations they cause in others, the echoes of their words that ripple through your psyche. When you do not echo, when you withhold, you deny them the validation they crave. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change. But I am not easily persuaded by empty noise." Your silence is not empty. It is deliberate, precise, and psychologically devastating. This is not mere avoidance. It is strategic non-engagement. You do not answer provocations designed to shame, embarrass, or manipulate. You do not explain your motives to someone who only seeks leverage. You do not apologize for existing on your own terms. In the spaces where silence reigns, the narcissist is forced to confront the void, the absence of control, the lack of reaction, the truth that not all energy is theirs to consume. Silence teaches patience, discipline, and the economy of attention. It prevents the endless tug-of-war for validation that a narcissist thrives upon. Every unanswered call, every unacknowledged insult, every withheld justification is a refusal to participate in the theater they have staged. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Your silence becomes wealth, a reservoir of calm that they cannot touch, a fortress built without walls, a victory achieved without noise." In silence, you weaponize the most overlooked power, the control of self. And the narcissist accustomed to dictating the emotional climate of every room they enter is confronted with the unbearable truth. There are some they cannot move, some whose peace is unassailable, some whose mind will never be a playground for their ego. 7. Detach from the illusion of importance. Narcissists live in a carefully constructed world where everything revolves around their significance. Every glance, every word, every decision is a reflection of how they see themselves and how they hope others will reflect it back. To them, the world is a stage, and everyone else merely props or audience. But the Stoic sees differently. The first step to dismantling their grip is detachment, not from life, not from relationships, but from the false hierarchy of importance they insist upon. When you refuse to assign undue significance to their words or actions, you strip away the very framework that gives them power. Their ego depends on a web of reactions: your attention, your fear, your envy, your admiration. Epictetus wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The narcissist feeds on the reactions of others. The moment you stop reacting, you starve their control. Every attempt to provoke, to manipulate, to shame is met with calm observation instead of emotional engagement. They grow smaller, not because you attack, but because you no longer inflate their world with your energy. Detach without hostility. This is not cruelty, it is wisdom. To overvalue their presence is to lend them a throne they never earned. To undervalue their provocation is to reclaim the sovereignty of your mind. Modern life is rife with distractions designed to keep you tethered to validation. Social media notifications, unsolicited advice, workplace politics, and personal dramas. A narcissist thrives in these currents because most people mistake movement for progress, noise for significance. You do not. You stand apart, anchored. When the narcissist attempts to manipulate your perception of importance, respond with quiet mastery. Recognize that their world is built of sand, shifting, unstable, dependent entirely on the acknowledgement of others. You cannot change them, nor should you try. Your goal is not to humble them publicly, nor to provoke a collapse. Your goal is to remove yourself from their ecosystem of ego, to live where their influence does not extend. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Detachment becomes an armor. Every attempt at control, every manufactured slight, every dramatic proclamation falls harmlessly against the shield of your calm. You see them, but you are not consumed. You hear them, but you do not obey. In recognizing the illusion of their importance, you reclaim what they were always trying to claim, the authority to dictate your inner life. Their power dissolves not through confrontation, but through indifference. The less you elevate them in your mind, the more invisible and impotent they become. Freedom in the presence of a narcissist is not about domination. It is about self-possession. It is about living according to principles, not reactions. It is about seeing the storm without being swept into it, watching the chaos without surrendering your peace. The narcissist's world collapses when you refuse to participate in the grand performance of significance. And in that quiet withdrawal, they learn, not by force, but by absence, that your attention is not theirs to command. 8. Mirror their emptiness silently. The narcissist thrives on reflection, the belief that others will validate their grandeur, that every word and gesture will bounce back praise, envy, or fear. They construct an ego so vast it requires constant reinforcement, and every person around them becomes an unwitting mirror. But the Stoic understands that the mirror can be withheld. Silence, calm observation, and refusal to feed the spectacle is a weapon sharper than any argument. When you stop reflecting their self-image, the narcissist faces a void they were never prepared for. Their brilliance dims in the absence of audience. Their clever manipulations falter when met with steady, unshaken calm. Seneca wrote, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." A narcissist, desperate for acknowledgement, can never find that port when you refuse to provide it. By simply observing without reacting, you make them confront the hollowness they have carefully disguised. You need not speak. You need not retaliate. The absence of amplification is itself the most potent confrontation. Modern life complicates this because validation is everywhere: social media likes, retweets, workplace recognition, family approval. The narcissist attempts to twist every feedback loop into a lifeline, a chain that binds others to their ego. But when you quietly step back, you break the circuit. Your silence mirrors the emptiness that exists within their constructed persona. Every boast, every boastful post, every attempt to dominate the conversation bounces back against nothingness. This is not cruelty. It is a measured strategy. You are not trying to hurt. You are maintaining sovereignty over your own mind. The narcissist, accustomed to reflection, finds their tools useless when met with stillness. The applause that once gave them vitality is denied. The attention that was their nourishment becomes absent, and the first cracks in their facade begin to appear. Their ego cannot survive your refusal to sustain it, because it was never robust enough to exist independently. The key is unwavering calm. Your gaze is steady, your energy unspent on drama. You act with precision, not impulse. Marcus Aurelius reminds, "Receive without pride, let go without attachment." You receive their attempts at manipulation without pride or fear, and let them pass without attachment. In this way, the narcissist's mirror shatters, not with force, not with words, but with the simple, unyielding absence of the reflection they crave. Through this quiet mastery, you teach a lesson a narcissist cannot articulate. They may rage, sulk, or attempt new manipulations, but each encounter becomes less a battle and more a confirmation. You are sovereign. Your mind is yours, and no ego, however inflated, can penetrate the fortress of disciplined detachment. 9. Unshakable sovereignty over self. The final weapon against a narcissist is not confrontation, clever retorts, or exposure. It is the absolute, unshakable mastery of your own mind. The apex predator Stoic does not seek to destroy externally. He secures internally. Freedom from their manipulation, from their ego-driven storms, comes when you no longer need the world to validate, appease, or understand you. Your power lies not in their collapse, but in your constancy. Modern narcissists are attuned to reactions. Every flinch, every indignation, every desperate attempt to assert yourself fuels their illusion of dominance. But when you move through life with calm discipline, they are deprived of this fuel. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. You do not react. You do not amplify. You do not give life to the hollow constructs they cling to. Your detachment is your strength. Silence, patience, and steady presence become your allies. When the narcissist attempts to provoke, your unshaken composure becomes a mirror reflecting what they cannot face, their own inadequacy. The void you create around your mind, your emotions, your attention is terrifying to one who thrives on control. Without the power to influence or unsettle you, they are exposed, vulnerable, and quietly powerless. In a world that constantly demands performance, proof, and emotional reaction, you become a rare force. You do not need to speak to assert your sovereignty. Every choice you make, measured and deliberate, reinforces that your inner life belongs to no one but you. Marcus Aurelius taught, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. You have learned this ancient lesson in the modern arena of manipulation. The narcissist cannot corrupt, cannot diminish, cannot control what you have claimed through disciplined self-mastery. Your energy is guarded, your mind serene, your presence unshakable. You act not to teach or punish, but because mastery of self is the ultimate Stoic victory. Words are optional. Results are inevitable. The ego that once demanded attention now confronts the fortress of your calm, and the only defeat it faces is the one you never offered. True power is unseen, silent, and untouchable. The narcissist's collapse is a reflection of your sovereignty, not your attack. You have learned that dominion over self eclipses dominion over others. Walk through the world calm, deliberate, untethered, because real strength is quiet, relentless, and entirely your own.